What's going on, guys? Today we are getting much closer to a stimulus package deal, which would include a second $1,200 stimulus check. It would also include additional unemployment benefits. It would also include PPP funding for small businesses, rental assistance, food assistance, assistance for the United States Postal Service, and so much more. Also today, we heard from President Trump. President Trump tweeted that he is feeling really good and that he will be leaving Walter Reed Medical Center today at 6:30 p.m. That is very good news. He also tweeted, "Don't be afraid of COVID. Don't let it dominate your life." President Trump was on a mad tweet spree this morning. He tweeted multiple times. If you haven't read that, you can always go and check it out. He is always very active on Twitter. So these tweets also come after more White House staff are testing positive. Just one person, the most notable person today, was White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany. So even though she did test positive, she will continue to work. It is not known how she's going to do that, as she is the press secretary, but she will continue to work. So we will see what happens there. We do have some positive news regarding the $1,200 stimulus check, though, and the entire stimulus package. Nancy Pelosi and Steve Mnuchin spoke on the phone today at length. They spoke for over 60 minutes, which is very good. A deal was not yet reached, however. That was anticipated. They are still going back and forth. There is a plan for later on today as well as tomorrow morning. The two are going to exchange details about their proposals later on today. And based on reports, this has gone on all weekend long, which is good because now the two are finally getting closer on the details of a final proposal. Again, this proposal has to be bipartisan. If it is only something coming from the Democrats or only something coming from Republicans, the other side is going to quickly reject this, and that will do us absolutely no good. Also this weekend, a group of House Democrats called the Blue Dog Coalition, they wrote a letter to Nancy Pelosi demanding her to compromise and accept a deal with Steve Mnuchin and the Trump administration. And they said, let's do whatever it takes. Now, a little bit now is better than nothing at all, is simply what they're saying. And based on all reports, Nancy Pelosi is not completely opposed to listening to offers that are less than her $2.2 trillion package, but she will not accept a smaller package if it will not meet the needs of the American people. This group has also been pushing Nancy Pelosi for weeks to accept any offer that gets proposed. So we already know, we've obviously seen this, Nancy Pelosi is not going to do that. But this group of House Democrats is wanting her to do that. So there's a little bit of, animosity there, but they'll get over it. In regards to what Steve Mnuchin and Nancy Pelosi talked about today, the first thing that they talked about is they needed clarification of the language for certain pieces of legislation. That we didn't get really briefed on what those pieces of legislation were, but we can assume it was probably state and local government funding. It was probably unemployment, most likely the child tax credits and things like that. But mainly, the main thing that they talked about today is they want to get some justifications of various numbers. So regarding, and this is based on what we know off the reports, the first thing is state and local government. Why does Nancy Pelosi feel the need to provide over $400 billion to state and local governments? What is the justification behind that figure? Now, we already know she stated this before, and Mark Meadows has filled us in on some information as well. The first piece of information is how much money has state and local governments actually lost. Well, Mark Meadows stated that they've lost about $250 billion. So that is the current loss. That is the current total. That is why Republicans only want to issue $250 billion to state and local governments, because that's their current loss. However, Nancy Pelosi is about $170 billion higher than that, because she wants to account for future losses. So Steve Mnuchin and the Trump administration pretty much just want a justification of that number, and also why $600 per week for unemployment is going to be much more beneficial than $400 per week. We get it. An extra $200 per week, $800 per month, it all adds up. But they want a justification for all these numbers. Because again, they have to go and explain this, not only to Democrats who are obviously going to go for it, but they have to go and explain this to Senate Republicans and explain why they feel this should be passed. So we'll know later on today, hopefully, what they're going to propose, but we will for sure know tomorrow morning as well. So later on today, what will happen is the two will exchange their newly revised proposals to be prepared for tomorrow's phone call to discuss any further questions and to go over the clarifications and justifications for those figures. So that's what we know now. That is what happened today during today's phone call between Nancy Pelosi and Steve Mnuchin. The goal right now, and this is something that multiple people have asked me here on YouTube, is what is the goal? What are they trying to do? Well, the goal right now is not to have one side completely agree to the other person's offer. That's not the case, or vice versa. That's not what they're trying to do. The goal right now is to keep working towards a bipartisan compromise. So they want to compromise, which means that Nancy Pelosi is eventually going to come down off her $2.2 trillion stimulus package. That also means Steve Mnuchin is going to go up from his $1.6 trillion stimulus package. Where they meet in the middle, we don't know. We don't know if it will be smack dab in the middle. We don't know if it will be a little bit higher than the middle, a little bit lower. We just don't know. But again, that's what these stimulus negotiations are meant for. If this bill can be bipartisan, which many expect it will need to be in order to pass, then getting support from both the Democrats and Republicans will become much easier, because the majority of Democrats don't want to accept a $1.6 trillion stimulus package. However, $1.6 trillion is something that some are considering. Some say, let's do it, let's accept it. But the majority do not want to do that. Now, all Republicans will not support a $2.2 trillion stimulus offer either. Not even some. Every single one will not accept this, will not support this based on current reports. So there must be a compromise for both parties, not just one. And this is what Nancy Pelosi has been saying all along, is why are Democrats coming down from their initial $3.4 trillion offer, but Republicans are barely coming up. There's very little compromise. So in this sense, Nancy Pelosi is right. Why are Democrats doing all the compromising when Republicans aren't willing to really offer much to the American people? So we'll see what happens there, but this is good news, because we need Congress to do their jobs and not let politics get in the way of that. With only 28 days left between now and the election, this is very hard to do, but it must be done. Just this morning, White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows said, "I do think that there is a potential for a deal as long as politics do not get in the way again. It's happened before. It will most likely happen again at some point, but let's just hope we can get through the stimulus negotiations without politics getting in the way, especially with less than 30 days to go before the November 3rd election day." Now, this has long been a problem, as Congress knew going into negotiations back in August. They knew a deal would be hard to come by simply because the election was fast approaching. They knew this. So what I can tell you right now is that a deal is looking very likely, but there are still a couple of hurdles along the way. First, the deal must be verbally agreed upon between Nancy Pelosi and Steven Mnuchin. That we need a verbal agreement. If we do not have a verbal agreement, then we are getting no further. All right. The next thing is the deal must be okayed by President Trump. If he's not willing to sign it and back this with his signature, then it's going to do no good. It's going to go absolutely nowhere. So, needs a verbal agreement between Nancy Pelosi and Steve Mnuchin. Second thing we need is President Trump to okay this. And the last thing we need is this bill to be bipartisan. It must be bipartisan, because if it's not, we risk Senate Republicans blocking this bill too. Now, many people ask, why would President Trump back something, say okay, with full knowledge, knowing that Senate Republicans are not going to be okay with this? They will not support it. Well, there's times where President Trump will do something and the Senate Republicans will not be on board with this. And this is one of those cases. If President Trump goes to $2 trillion or even exceeds it, which many people don't predict or don't expect him to do that, but if he would, many Senate Republicans would not be on board, would be very upset about this. So now, this is what we know right now, but as we know more information, I promise you I will keep you updated. Now, earlier today, I know a lot of people are struggling, a lot of people are trying to make some money any way they can. So earlier today, I published a video in this morning's stimulus update. I published a section of a video at the very end, okay, where I show you how to make $150 in as little as 5 minutes. Well, if you didn't get a chance to go and watch that video, I highly recommend you do so. I will link to that video down in the description box below. Make sure you go and watch it. Go and check it out, because this is something anybody can do. It's so simple, and it's a quick and easy $150. Okay? So if you have questions on that, you can either come back here or comment on that video as well, and I can help you out there as well. But in this section of the video, I show you a very simple way to make money. Go and watch it. It's at the very end of the video that I did earlier this morning. So again, go and check it out. Now, as always, like I said, as I know more, I promise you I will keep you updated on everything that's going on. So again, thank you for watching. Be sure to subscribe so I can keep you updated on all things stimulus and teach you new ways to make money. But again, thank you for watching. Hit that thumbs up button if you enjoyed today's video. Subscribe so I can keep you updated, and I'll see you guys on the next one.